apparently they don't have any faith in Gavin Newsom.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of funny because he wants to be president so bad.
That's true what it looks
but
like.
You can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice.
Shots fired. That's Joe Rogan calling out Gavin Newsom and his presidential aspirations, which actually elicited some return fire from the California governor. Hi, Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall. And in the most recent podcast, Joe Rogan went off not just on the Democratic Party, but also on Gavin Newsom and his aspirations. Rogan was talking with retired Navy SEAL Jack Carr, and the conversation turned to presidential politics when Rogan explained how weird it was for him to be at the Trump inauguration.
It's real weird being in the Capitol and to realize like how strange this whole process is.
Right.
I mean, there's this like public humiliation ritual where Trump goes on stage and talks shit and they're right behind him
there.
And they have to eat it and everybody cheers and claps and is very bizarre.
Surreal? Yeah,
very surreal. Very surreal. Surreal also that I'm right there too.
Right.
On the stage like what's going on?
So it doesn't usually include the elected president talking shit about his predecessors. That's just surreal and weird because that's what Trump did, right? And that's what's weird. That's not normally how it goes, but I gather Joe Rogan can be forgiven because he's never been there before, or maybe he just never paid attention.
And it's also strange just that this is this weird ritual that they do, this changing of the control, and then, you know, the beginning of the battle for the next 4 years, where everybody is like slinking away to try their strategy and figure out what to do next and who's our warrior, and now they're trying to figure it out.
That weird ritual is the peaceful transfer of power that happens every 4 to 8 years depending on the election results, right? And it's the founding principle. It's a huge part of the Constitution in U.S. democracy. So yeah, it's weird, but it's kind of what makes us America. But then he got into the next election and what the Democrats are going to do.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris. That's what they're going to run. Like,
all right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. You don't fight against that.
Apparently, they don't have any faith in Gavin Newsom.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of funny because he wants to be president so bad.
Rogan apparently has beef with Gavin Newsom, which maybe goes back to, I guess, earlier this summer when Gavin Newsom appeared on the Sean Ryan podcast. And Newsom said, look, I know he doesn't like me, but I'm a fan.
Joe Rogan texted me.
Motherfucker. Joe. I loved, by the way, I'm a Joe Rogan fan. He ain't a fan of mine, but I'm a Joe Rogan fan. No bullshit.
Right on.
And I've lived with it for I feel like it's a decade. Back in the day, before Joe was Joe Rogan. He was just a podcaster, man. Now he's a phenom.
So Newsom sat with Sean Ryan for 4 hours. Who has 4 hours to sit for a podcast? Not me. But at the beginning of that, Sean Ryan sort of surprised Newsom with some series of questions that he'd received via text from Joe Rogan.
This is from Joe Rogan.
Oh, God.
This is a tough one.
He won't have me on the show, by the way.
Who will be held accountable for mandating COVID-19 vaccines for children, which were unnecessary and ineffective? And who will take responsibility for the unprecedented increases in myocarditis and cancer cases among them? Second to that, do you feel any remorse for that draconian decision that was obviously heavily influenced by the pharmaceutical companies' desire for maximum profit?
Those are tough but fair questions, right? And Newsom certainly played a big part in vaccine policies in his state, but Newsom was kind of ready for that. He had good answers.
California, like many states, red states included, Florida included, moved forward early in the pandemic, working with the Trump administration and the advisors from the Trump administration to impose certain strategies to mitigate the impacts of this novel disease, coronavirus.
He's right. I mean, California didn't really act any differently than Florida under Ron DeSantis. The other thing is, this all happened under the Trump administration. So why is Trump getting a pass from Rogan and Newsom's getting all the animus? But the governor continues.
And it'll be the only state that I know of that is putting out a truly objective review of what went right and what went wrong. And I know everyone's a goddamn genius now in hindsight. But at the time, none of us knew what we were up against, including the President of the United States, who I worked very closely with. There wasn't a Democratic governor in America that worked closer during the pandemic than I did with Donald Trump.
Everyone is a goddamn genius in hindsight, right? Like that's part of the problem. Like you go back to the first months of the pandemic, people thought it was a dystopian sort of end of life, end of civilization moment. That's how they were. And in hindsight, yeah, did we overreact? Did we let the OCD set sort of take over? Sure. But, wisdom in hindsight 2020, right? But also, he was working hand in glove with the Trump administration. So again, he's wise to make that point.
And you can go back and stress test that. And I say that with the kind of humility he deserves as well, and grace that he deserves in terms of the decisions he made early on. We were all up against something none of us had any experience around, and we counted on the experts.
Counting on the experts. The experts didn't get everything right, of course. They got a lot of it right. That's the context. That's how Newsom was well prepared and kind of shot right back at Rogan's answer. But I don't know if that pissed Rogan off, or Rogan just really doesn't like Gavin Newsom, or had a terrible experience in California where he used to live. But he kept going hard in his interview with Jack Carr about how bad California is under Gavin Newsom.
What it looks like.
You can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice.
I know.
Once I get it as a president, I'm going to fix it. Fix it all.
I mean, it's so crazy, but he's such a great politician. I mean,
No,
he's
not.
so smooth.
He's
You
not,
don't think
though.
so?
No, I think he's terrible.
How's
It's
he
just
remained in
'cause
power
he
for
has
so long?
Low competition. There's no one who's good is competing against him. There's no sincerity.
I should say he's not a good. I should say he's smooth. He comes.
I
across
mean,
pretty
he's
smooth.
a good bullshit artist.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But it's like what the things that he says when he gets confronted with things. We're the highest this and the highest that. Like everybody's leaving.
Yeah.
You have the highest unemployment.
Yeah.
You have the highest homelessness.
Look what they did with Hollywood.
Money's missing. You killed Hollywood. Like
know.
Hollywood doesn't exist anymore. It's literally gone.
That was such an easy one.
mandated vaccines for kids that didn't need them. You guys, he did horrible shit.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can debate the vaccines, but to just put that on his feet isn't really fair when that's kind of what the Trump administration was advising. So clearly Joe Rogan's not on the team Gavin Newsom when it comes to the next presidential campaign. Who is he into? Well, Tulsi Gabbard came up.
She's got a lot of character, and that doesn't get rewarded there.
Yeah. No. I mean, I would support her, and there's a path for her, and there is definitely a path for her to get into the White House.
Yeah, it could be. She could be our first female president, especially after we've seen like what they tried to do to her.
Tulsi Gabbard, first female president? I guess it could happen. Seems like Joe Rogan's into it. But then he used that as a pretext to complain about the way that she was treated.
They put her on the Quiet Skies thing.
Yeah.
So they put her on a terrorist watch list. She was a U.S. congresswoman for 8 fucking years. Mm-hmm. She served overseas in a medical unit, right? So she was deployed twice in a medical unit in the middle of the fucking war, and you're labeling her a terrorist. Like, whoever did that, like, whoever signed off on that should be in fucking jail.
That's right. He called to put someone in jail who they didn't put her on a terrorist watch list. She was part of the Quiet Skies program, which is still a mistake. Should not have done. Was it a political attack? No, but she does have a questionable history with, connections to the Kremlin and to Syria. So it's not like she's as clean as the driven snow.
I mean, much of
that's
stuff.
such an abuse.
Yeah.
That's such an abuse of power.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about like going after your political enemies in a sick third world country way. That's a great example.
So this podcast was published on October 8th, and shortly thereafter, Gavin Newsom kind of got the last laugh when he hit back hard via social media. He posted, "Joe Rogan is too chicken emoji to have me on a show and expose his listeners to the truth, so I'll put it out here." He went on to list that California is the 4th largest economy in the world, number 1 in manufacturing, number 1 in farming, number 1 in new business starts, number 1 for tech and VC, Fortune 500 companies, and public higher education. He could continue, and he asked to be invited on his show. And again, as he said earlier, and we don't know if this is true, Gavin Newsom insists that Joe Rogan won't have him on his show. I would watch the hell out of a Joe Rogan-Gavin Newsom conversation, and I suspect Gavin Newsom would do very well. And we know that because he's gone on Fox News and had big debates with Ron DeSantis and Sean Hannity. And he reveals that he watches these shows and he's fluent with conspiratorial or conservative or sort of anti-democratic talking points that you typically see on Joe Rogan and on Fox News. And he's clearly thought his answers through and is prepared and gives them in a civil, mutually respectful way. So this is a call to you, Joe Rogan, because I know you're a huge Mediaite podcast viewer, fan. Have Gavin Newsom on. What is there to lose? I mean, you could lose some face. He could call you out. He could embarrass you. But fortune favors the bold, my friend. And, there's good reason to call out Gavin Newsom. A lot of LA and California has been a mess under his watch. But give him a shot. Put him in the barrel roll. Again, I'm Mediaite editor Colby Hall. Please click the like and subscribe button for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.